Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next half an hour. US President Donald Trump terminates all trade talks with Canada after what he termed was a fraudulent ad showing late President Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. Afghanistan takes inspiration from India to corner Pakistan. Taliban government's Minister Mullah Abdul Latif Mansoor hints at plans to build dams across Kunar River, which is known as the Chitral across the border. Putin remains defiant despite Trump's move to sanction Moscow's oil, dismissing it as pressure tactic. Russian president also warns that response to strikes deep inside his country will be very serious, if not overwhelming. Good evening to all the viewers joining us at this evening broadcast. To begin with the United States. United States President Donald Trump said on Thursday that all trade talks with Canada were terminated following what he called a fraudulent advertisement in which former and late president spoke negatively about the tariff. Trump wrote on Truth Social, and I quote him here, "Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated." The ad showed Reagan, a Republican, criticizing tariffs on foreign goods while saying they caused job losses and trade wars. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation issued a statement late on Thursday saying the ad by the government was using selective audio and video of Reagan and that the foundation was reviewing its legal options. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney told the reporters on Thursday that Canada will not allow unfair US access to its market if talks on various trade deals with Washington fail. US imposed tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminium and autos earlier this year, prompting Ottawa to respond in kind. US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will make state visits next week to South Korea when the country hosts Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation events. South Korea's presidential security advisor said that South Korean President Lee Jae-myung plans to hold summit meetings with Trump and Xi separately. As part of a trip to Asia, Trump will meet Xi next week in South Korea, the White House said earlier, amid an escalation in trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. Before the APEC meetings, Lee will make a two-day trip to Malaysia between the 26th and the 27th of October to attend a summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, also joined by Donald Trump. On the sidelines of the ASEAN summit, Lee will talk to Cambodia's Prime Minister and discuss recent online scam issues as well. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned on Thursday that Moscow's response to any strikes deep inside Russia would be very serious and overwhelming. Addressing reports that Washington had eased restrictions on Ukraine's use of long-range Western missiles and President Zelensky's comments about developing domestic weapons with a 3,000 kilometers range, Putin said such moves were an attempt to escalate, warning that attacks on Russian territory would invite a powerful retaliation.
This is an attempt to escalate, but if these weapons are used to strike on Russia, the response will be very serious. I should even say overwhelming. Let them think about it.
Despite the tensions, Putin emphasized that Moscow has always supported dialogue with Washington and still does. He said Trump's decision to cancel the summit appeared to be a postponement rather than a complete cancellation, adding, and I quote him, "Dialogue is always better than confrontation," unquote.
The US president has decided to cancel or postpone this meeting. More likely, he is talking about postponing it. What can we say? Dialogue is always better than any confrontation.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met Britain's King Charles at Windsor Castle on Friday ahead of the Coalition of the Willing meeting in London. The two reviewed the cards before engaging in a brief interaction. King Charles has been a vocal supporter of Ukraine, having previously hosted Zelensky after his meeting with US President Donald Trump. The London discussions will feature both in-person and virtual participation. Leaders including NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof and Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen are expected to join the talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that an international security force to be put in place in Gaza under a ceasefire agreement will have to be made up of countries that Israel is comfortable with. Rubio said that he did not believe that Israel would annex the West Bank, playing down this week's Knesset vote to advance two of the bills. Rubio was speaking during a tour at the Civil Military Coordination Center in Israel's Kiryat Gat this afternoon.
Obviously, as you put together this force, it'll have to be people that Israel's comfortable, or countries that Israel's comfortable with as well. Let me just say that I think there are a lot of countries that are expressing interest right now. I'm not going to get into a list of who they are. This is a vote that they took in the Knesset. From what it was explained to me, it was elements that tried to use it to embarrass Netanyahu while the vice president was here. Suffice it to say, we don't think it's going to happen. And more importantly, it's not, from a legislative standpoint, structured in a way that could happen.
The Trump administration and the Republican lawmakers in Congress cautioned on Thursday that flight disruptions are likely to worsen as the government shutdown stretches into its 23rd day, leaving air traffic controllers without their first full paycheck. Around 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers are being forced to work without pay during the shutdown. Controllers are set to miss their first complete paycheck on Tuesday. White House Press Secretary warned of major flight delays, disruptions and cancellations at airports nationwide during the holiday season, blaming Democrats for the ongoing impasse. Democrats, however, dismissed the accusation, insisting that it is President Donald Trump and Republican leaders who are responsible for the stalemate by refusing to engage in negotiations.
If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel.
Tensions flared in California on Thursday as protesters clashed with the police over the arrival of federal agents at local Coast Guard base. President Trump reversed the course on sending federal agents to San Francisco. President's announcement on Thursday surprised many as he declared that no federal agents would be deployed to San Francisco despite earlier plans. The move comes amid ongoing debates over immigration enforcement in Democratic-led cities. The European Union has accused social media giants Meta and TikTok of violating the bloc's digital content rules, a move that could expose the companies to significant fines. In its preliminary findings, the European Commission said both platforms failed to give researchers proper access to public data, breaching the European Union's Digital Services Act. It also said Facebook and Instagram lack user-friendly tools to report illegal content and do not provide effective ways for the users to appeal moderation decisions. The companies now face potential penalties if found in breach of the law. France's socialists have threatened to topple the government by Monday if their budget conditions are not met. Socialist Party leader said on Friday they would file a no-confidence bill next week if the mega-rich are not forced to pay more tax. Given the arithmetic of France's starkly divided parliament, the socialists have the power to topple Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu's weak minority government if they partner with the far left and the far right, which have already said they want to oust him. German automakers have been going through hard times for a while now, but still, latest news came in as a shock to the businesses. Volkswagen will have to shut down some of its production as soon as next week. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Good evening, Lars. What is behind the problems at Volkswagen?
Thanks for having me. Well, that's right. Volkswagen said they might have to shut down production of their popular Golf model, and it's because the company is running out of chips. We're talking about chips made by the Dutch-Chinese company Nexperia, and there's quite a backstory to that now. Nexperia is a subsidiary of China's Wingtech technology, headquartered in Shanghai, but with some of their chips developed and manufactured in the Dutch city of Nijmegen. Now, last week, the Dutch government took over control of the Dutch plant, and citing national security and European economic security as a reason. Government insiders said it was meant to prevent Nexperia from leaking chip-related intellectual property to China. But China retaliated right away, with Nexperia immediately halting export of all its Chinese-made chips.
But Lars, if the chips were made in a plant in Holland, why has this become such a problem?
That's because the Dutch plant doesn't make most of the Nexperia chips. They make some chips, but most of the company's product comes out of China. And those are the chips that Volkswagen needs. And the problem is it's very difficult to find alternative products. Even if someone had chips available at the very specifications Volkswagen needs, they would have to be tested and certified. Now, Volkswagen actually just said that there might be a solution now, and they might find another supplier, but still, they are in a tricky situation. And by the way, this is not just a problem for this one car maker. Mercedes-Benz and BMW are both saying that they have enough chips right now, but they're already looking into the situation, clearly understanding that other Chinese suppliers could also ban exports of their chips. And then we would quickly have more companies here forced to halt production.
Also, Lars, tell us what is behind this battle and why did the Dutch take on this Chinese company?
That's a question a lot of people have been asking, because the official reasoning doesn't hold water. The Dutch government, as I mentioned, said that they need to make sure that intellectual property, so it's patents and technology and such, that's not being transferred to China. However, it's hard to stop that at a company that has been working across borders for decades. Also, one influential auto industry insider here in Germany said that the particular chips we're talking about here, those Nexperia chips, they're basically pretty basic, and they're not at all top-notch technology. It seems there is more to the story, and it looks like the United States might have pressured the Dutch government to be a bit more harsher towards China, which would really mean that the US government under Donald Trump now is forcing allies to join the trade war, to play along with tariffs or even outright boycott business with the Chinese. The problem there, though, industry insiders find that neither the US nor China would be the biggest losers in such a game, but that Europe would suffer even more, as we are actually seeing in this very case.
All right. Thank you so much, Lars, for joining us and getting us the latest straight from Germany. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses Rozgar Mela, says appointment made today are active contributions to nation building. And in sports, Elena Rybakina clinches 8th and last spot at next month's WTA finals.
Indian industries are facing pressure because of President Trump's tariff threats.
Even tariffs are part of the story, actually. If you were to look at the whole story of the deindustrialization of India, it began in many ways under the British rule. They say, oh, it's not our fault. India fell behind because you missed the bus for the Industrial Revolution. My answer is, we missed the bus is because you threw us under its wheels.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India Live. Well, Afghanistan is taking assertive steps to assert its water sovereignty, a move that could have severe consequences for Pakistan's already fragile water and energy security. Following weeks of deadly clashes along the Durand line, Kabul has announced plans to construct dams on the Kunar River, signalling a strategic effort to control water flowing into Pakistan. According to Afghanistan's Deputy Minister of Information, Afghan Supreme Leader Akhundzada had instructed the ministry to begin construction of dams on the Kunar River as soon as possible and to sign contracts with domestic companies. Well, the 480 kilometers long Kunar River, known as the Chitral River in Pakistan, feeds into the Kabul River, which ultimately joins the Indus near Attock. Islamabad, which has long relied on Afghanistan rivers for irrigation and hydropower, now faces a looming water crisis of its own. Any reduction in Kunar's flow would impact both Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Punjab provinces, further straining Pakistan's irrigation and agricultural output. Moving on, Japan's new Prime Minister Sane Takaichi pledged on Friday to accelerate a defense spending target by 2 years as the government pursues proactive fiscal expansion on strategic priorities. In her first policy speech, Takaichi told the parliament that Japan aims to reach a defense spending goal of 2% of gross domestic product in the current fiscal year through March, ahead of the original target of fiscal 2027.
Our nation must take the initiative in radically strengthening its defense capabilities. To this end, we will act to bring forward the implementation of the 2% of GDP level within the current financial year set out in the National Security Strategy in conjunction with supplementary budgetary measures.
Takaichi also previously said that Japan is completely looked down on by China and that Tokyo must address the security threat posed by Beijing while calling for more security cooperation with Taiwan.
China is an important neighbor of Japan, and we must build a constructive and stable relationship. At the same time, it is a fact that security and economic security concerns exist between Japan and China. We will advance our strategic, mutually beneficial relationship through frank and repeated dialogue between our leaders.
After torrential rain in Taiping, Malaysia, residents found themselves trapped in flooded homes on Thursday. With roads inundated and vehicles partially submerged, many used rafts to move around. Local authorities launched their disaster response on Thursday evening as conditions worsened across several districts in northern Perak state. Over 2,000 residents have been evacuated to temporary shelters as of Friday morning, as Malaysia's meteorological department forecast continued rainfall through Friday. Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, Nara Chandrababu Naidu, met with United Arab Emirates Minister of Economy and Tourism, Abdullah bin Tawkal Mari, on Friday in Dubai. The meeting focused on exploring new investment opportunities and deepening cooperation in emerging technology sectors with an aim to further strengthen India-UAE economic ties. The first Hindustan Turbo Trainer 40 or HTT-40 series production aircraft, TH-4001, which will train the next generation air warriors, took to the skies at the HAL facility in Bengaluru on Friday. The HTT-40 basic trainer aircraft is a fully aerobatic tandem seat turboprop aircraft built to provide basic flight training, aerobatics, instrument flying and night flying. President Draupadi Murmu attended the centenary celebrations of St. Teresa's College in Kerala. She lauded the college's century-long contributions to women education and nation building. Highlighting the rise in gender budget allocation and women-led MSMEs, she emphasized that women's active participation is vital to leverage India's demographic development. The President noted the government's vision of achieving 70% women workforce participation by the year 2047.
Active participation of women is necessary for the country to leverage its demographic dividend. Gender budget allocation has increased 4.5 times during the last decade. Women-led MSMEs nearly doubled between 2011 and 2024. One of the key pillars for achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047 is to achieve 70% women workforce participation.
At the invitation of the government of Seychelles, Vice President of India, C.P. Radhakrishnan, will visit the Republic of Seychelles from the 26th till the 27th of October. The Vice President will attend the swearing-in ceremony of Dr. Patrick, President-elect of the Republic of Seychelles, on behalf of the Government of India. During the visit, the Vice President will also convey India's warm felicitations to Dr. Harmini and reaffirm the close, long-standing ties between the two countries. Seychelles is an important partner under India's Vision Mahasagar and in India's commitment to the Global South. The visit underscores India's deep commitment to further strengthening and expanding its partnership with Seychelles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the Rozgar Mela via video conferencing today, highlighting that the festive season has been enriched by the GST Bachat Utsav. Prime Minister Modi noted the significant reform in GST rate reductions across the country.
नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म से रोजगार के अवसरों का भी विस्तार मिल रहा है। जब हर रोज इस्तेमाल होने वाले सामान सस्ते होते हैं तो मांग भी बढ़ती है। जब मांग बढ़ती है तो उत्पादन और सप्लाई चेन को भी गति मिलती है और जब फैक्ट्रियां ज्यादा उत्पादन करती हैं तो नई नौकरियां पैदा होती हैं। इसलिए ये जीएसटी बचत उत्सव रोजगार उत्सव में भी बदल रहा है। अभी हमने देखा धनतेरस, दीपावली पर जिस तरह रिकॉर्ड बिक्री हुई है, नए नए रिकॉर्ड बने, पुराने रिकॉर्ड टूटे। ये दिखाता है कि कैसे जीएसटी में हुए रिफॉर्म ने देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को नई गति दी है। एमएसएमई सेक्टर और रिटेल ट्रेड में भी हमें इस रिफॉर्म का सकारात्मक असर देखने को मिल रहा है।
Prime Minister also emphasized that youth empowerment remains a top priority for the government. He noted that Rozgar Mela have become a powerful medium to fulfill the aspirations of young Indians with over 11 lakh appointment letters issued in recent times.
पिछले 11 वर्षों से देश विकसित भारत के निर्माण का संकल्प लेकर आगे बढ़ रहा है। इसमें सबसे बड़ी भूमिका हमारे युवाओं की है, आप सबकी है। इसलिए युवाओं का सशक्तिकरण ये भाजपा एनडीए सरकार की प्राथमिकता है। आज रोजगार मेले युवाओं के सपनों को पूरा करने का माध्यम बन गए हैं। अकेले इन रोजगार मेलों के जरिए बीते कुछ समय में ही 11 लाख से ज्यादा नियुक्ति पत्र दिए जा चुके हैं और ये प्रयास केवल सरकारी नौकरियों तक ही सीमित नहीं है। हमने देश में पीएम विकसित भारत रोजगार योजना भी शुरू की है। इसके तहत 3.5 करोड़ युवाओं को नौकरी देने का लक्ष्य रखा गया है।
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal met with the top German CEOs at the Business Leaders Roundtable in Berlin. The event was part of the Berlin Dialogue in Germany. Piyush Goyal highlighted India's strong reform agenda and sectoral growth opportunities. He emphasized the country's supportive policies promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. The minister said these factors make India a highly attractive destination for global investment. On to sports now. Australia have made a number of changes to their T20I squad for the upcoming 5-match series against India. Australia have recalled Glenn Maxwell and Ben Dwarshuis to allow Test contenders to play in the Sheffield Shield before the Ashes. Josh Hazlewood will skip the last 3 games of the series, while fellow fast bowler Sean Abbott will miss the last 2. Maxwell will come in for the last 3 games, while left-arm paceman will be available for the last 2. Uncapped quick Mahali Bedman will also join the squad for the last 3 games of a series that begins next Wednesday. In other changes, wicketkeeper Josh Philippe joins the squad as cover for Josh Inglis, who is still struggling with the calf problem that rules him out of the ODI series. Moving on to tennis now, Elena Rybakina clinched the 8th and last spot at next month's WTA finals when she beat Victoria Mboko on Friday to reach the Pan-Pacific semi-finals in Tokyo. Rybakina will play 6th seed Linda Noskova of the Czech Republic in the semi-finals on Saturday. The number 2 seed made a fast start by winning the first 3 games on the way to sealing the first set. The second was more closely contested, with Rybakina saving a set point against the 23rd ranked Mboko before they went to a tiebreaker. With this victory, Rybakina joins Arina Sabalenka, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Amanda Anisimova, Madison Keys, Jessica Pegula and Jasmine Paolini at the season-ending tournament in November. And before we let you go, it's now time to get you some amazing visuals, as Berlin-based Way is a driverless car sharing startup where customers summon electric cars via an app and drive them while a remote pilot controls and parks the vehicle. Well, the service runs in Las Vegas and is being tested in Germany, offering a safer and more efficient alternative to private car ownership in crowded cities. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.